Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, the drug maker Pfizer has signed a deal with a UN-backed group to allow other manufacturers to make its experimental COVID-19 pill, a move that could make the treatment available to more than half of the world's population. In a statement issued Thursday, Pfizer said it will grant a license to generic drug companies to produce the pill for use in 95 countries, making up about 53% of the world's population. Remember, Pfizer is the second major drug manufacturer to allow this. They've done this after Merck. This is a real game changer. The reason we are discussing this too is because after the breakthrough of vaccines, it is the pills, which are going to change our lives, the lives of billions around the world as we try and move beyond COVID once and perhaps for all. But after that, on the program, the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation in Gujarat has imposed a ban on the sale of non-vegetarian food items at stalls alongside public roads. On the show tonight, the ban on meat sale near schools and religious spaces. Is this intolerance or civic issues? But first, let's talk about the big breakthrough in the last couple of months, but it's really being reported now on anti-COVID pills by Pfizer and by Merck. And the good news is that these will be generic. So will generic anti-COVID pills redefine the fight against the pandemic? First up on the program tonight, we've got Dr. Gagandeep Kang, who's been, among other things, the co-author of Till We Win, India's Fight Against the COVID-19 Pandemic. Dr. Kang, is this what's going to help us win the fight?
So we are already in a situation where we have a lot of tools available to us that prevent disease, and we have a lot of tools for treating people once they get into hospital. What this gives us is something where if you get infected or are exposed to infection, here is something that can potentially keep you out of hospital, and it can be done with pills that can be taken orally. Unlike the very expensive monoclonal antibodies that became available in India a few months ago, we now have the potential for having two drugs that have proven effectiveness in keeping people out of hospital. So yes, this has the potential to be a game changer.
Dr. Kang, based on the data that you're seeing so far, or is there any data so far which is peer reviewed of either Merck or Pfizer, or I mean, are we still some ways away from that?
So we've heard that Pfizer is going to be presenting its data to the Food and Drug Administration. And one of the advantages is that once any data goes to the FDA, they conduct an independent analysis of the primary data. Very few regulators do that. So as soon as it gets an FDA review, essentially the data is in the public domain without it necessarily needing to be part of a publication. And we've heard that Pfizer will be submitting in a couple of weeks. So we should have the data that's required. Top line data, of course, is available from the clinical trial in their press release, where you have a little less than 800 people who participated in the study. And essentially, you had an 89% reduction in hospitalizations, 7 deaths in the people who did not receive Paxlovid, and 0 deaths in those who did.
So, Dr. Kang, how does India enjoy a huge advantage in the manufacture of generic pills?
So if we look at the countries that get covered by the medicine patents pool to whom this has been licensed, essentially what happens is that the company gives its license to the medicines patent pool, and the medicines patent pool works with manufacturers in low and middle income countries to give them licenses to manufacture at low prices. That way you can have fixed drug combinations, you can have formulations that are made specifically for LMICs. It sounds fantastic. You mentioned 50% of the world's population. But we have to remember that this is licenses for 95 countries where most of the countries don't have the ability to make drugs, unlike India. So India is one of the few countries in that list of 95 that has a strong manufacturing industry that will be able to take advantages of the patents that are with the medicine patent pool.
Professor Kang, how much is it going to
China
cost?
is not included. As an example, China is not included in among the 95 countries.
I'm just curious, trying to understand that. Why is it not included? Because it doesn't have the drug manufacturing capability that some other countries do?
In fact, it has the drug manufacturing capability, and Medicines Sans Frontiers has come out with a statement saying that major vaccine manufacturing countries like Argentina and China have been left out of this agreement because the agreement has gone to the MPP. So it is an advantage for India.
I'm
but
sorry, what do you
leaves
mean by
out
MPP? Just so for the benefit
the
of our viewers.
medicines patent pool.
Right.
Medicine Patent Pool, which is the UN organization
Right, yes.
that will hold the license.
That's interesting. And how much is it going to cost in India eventually?
We don't know, but in general, everything that has been produced through MPP has been at prices that are affordable for low and middle income countries. An example is HIV drugs that MPP does a lot of work on. Currently, the pricing for molnupiravir is about $700. It's expected that Pfizer will come up with a rich country price that will be very similar for Paxlovid. And we should anticipate that this should be orders of magnitude less. I'd be surprised if it was anything less than, somewhere between 80 to 100 times less.
So you're looking at what, about 2,000 to 4,000 rupees per course, right, of either Pfizer or Merck?
And hopefully even less than that
Eventually.
if we can get it.
And
yes.
A final question now, just again crystal gazing, because this seems to bring so much hope. All we've been talking about, Dr. Kang, over the last 1 year is how much more needs to be done. Now this is going to come online. We have manufacturing scale, a massive scale of manufacture in India. Merck is already in touch with 5 Indian companies, really good companies, Dr. Reddy's, Hetero, and a few others as well. Bharat Biotech possibly, I'm not entirely sure. 5 companies in total. We can actually be exporting this to dozens of countries around the world. So our stamp on this, will be felt around the world, given our ability to manufacture at cost.
You said it yourself, 50% of the world's population could have access because of this. And I expect that the bulk of that might come from Indian manufacture.
When are we going to get these drugs easily available at this rate, Dr. Kang?
Well, the company itself is planning to invest about $1 billion in supporting companies in India and other places to make this drug. The goal is to have up to about 180,000 courses manufactured by the end of next month, and potentially about 50 million courses manufactured in 2022. And that, of course, means you need 10 times that amount of drug, so 500 million pills need to be made, because the drug is given twice a day for 5 days.
And I believe it's 4 doses in the morning and in the evening, or 5 in one of the drugs. 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. So either 8 or 10, depending on whether it's Paxlovid or molnupiravir.
Molnupiravir.
Yes, I got it right. I managed.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of medicines every day, right? I mean, and one has to be regular, obviously, with it. You can't miss these doses or anything like that. Again, it's a silly question, but let me ask you this, Dr. Kang. Why would one need 8 pills or 10 pills a day?
I think one of the things that we have to remember is that formulations get better with time. So when you start off with something being used in a clinical trial, you're not so worried about what the final formulation might be. You just want to know whether it works or not. Right. Now we are at the stage where we know that it works. And this is where the next step comes in. How do you reduce the size of or the number of pills that people need to take, as well as look at whether you could reduce the frequency. But right now, twice a day doesn't sound terrible.
No, it doesn't. And so are you going to therefore some stage next year write another chapter to Till We Win, India's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic? Are you headed in there? I don't think you have a choice, Dr. Kang. I mean, this is incredible science.
It is incredible science. And in fact, antivirals have been much harder to do than vaccines.
Yeah.
But I hope that this is also a game changer for us to think about how we make drugs faster for the next pandemic.
Dr. Kang, thank you very much for being with us. Also on the program this evening, Professor Ravindra Gupta, Professor of Clinical Microbiology at the Department of Medicine at Cambridge, and Dr. Naresh Trehan joins us as well, as also Dr. Shahid Jamil. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Dr. Trehan, 1 year down the road, will we be looking at COVID with a lot more optimism in terms of dealing with its outcomes, dealing with treatment than we have for the last 1 year?
So, vaccine has made a big difference in the outlook already. That it's proven all around the world that people who have been vaccinated twice have had a much milder form of disease. The frequency is less, and also the fact that recovery is quite rapid and people do not suffer the side effects which normally they did in the first and second wave. So point being now that with that happening as the first line of defense, now we have a second line of defense, which was represented by the Regeneron and the antibody cocktail, which is effective but quite expensive. So this comes as a huge relief to the world that this pill, which is now licensed through the global medicine pool, patent pool, will be freely available to 95 countries to be able to manufacture the pill under a generic form of it and then be able to freely distribute it so that the price, that point will come extremely sort of affordable and make it possible for most people to access it. So this is a huge relief. Sure. And it's a great news. But there is one caution that it is not approved yet. The data looks favorable. It's being analyzed by the FDA. They're going to submit it very soon. If it stands to scrutiny through the different hurdles of scientific rigor, then we will know exactly that we have that relief. But this is already early days of celebration of that. Okay? So right. I think it gives a huge relief to give a short answer to you.
Dr. Shahid Jamil, tell us a little bit about the science of Paxlovid and Molnupiravir, because I believe they're very different in the way in which they deal with COVID.
Yes, they are different. Molnupiravir, which is the Merck drug, is what is known as a replication inhibitor. It inhibits the enzyme that copies the RNA into more copies, so it essentially prevents multiplication of the virus. The Pfizer drug is actually a combination of two drugs, and both of these drugs are called protease inhibitors. The main compound inhibits a protease, which is a protein produced by the virus that is required to process its large protein. And unless this processing happens, the virus is not viable. It doesn't multiply. Okay. The minor portion, which is ritonavir, which is a HIV protease inhibitor, is actually added to this to reduce the degradation of this particular drug in our guts.
Yep.
So it extends the life of the active molecule. So yes, they have different targets, completely different targets, two different enzymes in the virus life cycle.
Yeah. Professor Gupta, tell us a little bit about just the science involved. I mean, we've heard about how these are different, but for a larger audience which doesn't perhaps understand the difference in how Molnupiravir and Paxlovid work, as a breakthrough in science in a very short period of time, just like that first breakthrough in vaccines happened in a very short period of time, does this not indicate an incredible getting together of the scientific community and scientists in actually figuring things out at record-breaking speeds?
Yes, I think that this is a great advance. But the question really is, how are these drugs going to be used? Of course, you would want to be using them with a positive coronavirus test. But if unregulated, the drugs could be used.
Okay, Professor Gupta, your line's bad. I'm just going to try and fix that. Let me come back to you, Dr. Jamil. And I just want to focus on the India angle in this, because it's great that India has the ability to manufacture these drugs at scale. So do you actually see India being at the center of global efforts to fight COVID with these pills?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I say this because of two reasons. One is India has a very good, very robust generic pharma industry. And also India has a lot of experience with making affordable drugs for HIV/AIDS. And both of these drugs, whether it's the replication inhibitor or the protease inhibitor, HIV drugs are the same class of drugs. And companies like Cipla and Hetero and Reddy's Lab, all of these companies have a lot of experience making these drugs. So yes, I think it's a good thing for India. And India should be able to supply at very affordable prices. Remember, Cipla came up with a combination of HIV drugs at $1 a dose.
Yeah. Which was unheard of.
There isn't, yeah.
No, absolutely. Do we have Dr. Gupta back? All right, we don't have Dr. Gupta back at this stage, I'm afraid. Well, I'd like to wrap this up. It is absolutely incredible science. And the way forward is something that brings hope for all of us. We're going to take a short break at this stage. Coming up after that, we'll be looking at the ban on meat sales near schools and religious places. Is this intolerance or civic issues? This is in parts of Gujarat. The Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation in Gujarat has imposed a ban on the sale of non-vegetarian food items at stalls alongside public roads. On the show tonight, the ban on meat sale near schools and religious places. Is this intolerance or civic issues? Joining us, Faizan Mustafa, the Vice Chancellor of Nalsar University, Naishad Desai, the spokesperson of the Congress, Ajay Umat, Group Editor of the Ahmedabad Mirror, and Geeta Bhatt, who is a political analyst, supports the BJP. Thank you all very much for being with us. Let me come to you first, Faizan Mustafa. Does this make any sense to you? Is this something about trying to encourage rather forcibly vegetarianism, or does this have to do with some sort of civic safety hygiene issues?
Vishnu, as a student of constitutional law, when our Supreme Court, a 9-judge bench in Puttu Swami says what people eat is part of their privacy, I don't think anybody has a right to dictate food choices. In any case, 69% of children death in India are due to malnutrition. Most of the BJP ruled states have excluded eggs from schools and midday meals and this Anganwadis thing. I really don't understand what is this kind of reaction coming in. You would recall just a few years back, Supreme Court passed an order that liquor would not be sold within 25-kilometer radius of highways.
Yeah.
Editorials were written in all leading national newspapers against that. Supreme Court had to dilute it for hilly states. A number of states declared their highways as stateways.
Right.
And we said that, well, this is a directive principle and we should not try to, take, even though it has not said you will not consume liquor on highways. It was only the prohibition about sale.
So the priority
now,
was wrong. The priority was not consumption.
Which is
the priority was actually the sale and highways. I take your point. It doesn't
why
make
are they
sense.
talking about alcohol? It is only the ban of eggs and the non-vegetarian thing.
Right.
I think we can't be taking away choices of our children and curtailing those choices from the future citizens of this country.
Okay.
So I personally feel that the order is absolutely in the teeth of the 9-inch judgment of the Supreme Court.
Got it, Faizan Mustafa. Let me get Geeta Bhatt across on this. In fact, Geeta ji, it's not just Ahmedabad, it's Rajkot, Vadodara, Bhavnagar. All of the municipal corporations have issued similar instructions removal of non-veg food carts from the main roads. What's the sense in doing this?
Well, Vishnuji, meat ban is something which is, there is an echo, if you can please get it corrected.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
So this is not the first time that, a meat ban has been announced in certain states or by certain governments, though the state chief minister has very categorically said that, it has not been endorsed by the state government, neither they have given any direction. This is a local body issue, the local municipal body has taken this kind of a decision. But saying that that there are particular states where BJP is ruling, these kind of bans have been taking place, which I think is totally untrue. If you look at the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, in 1960s during the Jain festivals, there used to be days when there used to be a meat ban. Then again the number of days were increased sometime in 1994. In 2004 again similar ban orders had come. Not only there, if you look at even in Madhya Pradesh, there more than 10 days there is a meat ban which takes place, which also includes national holidays, and this has been happening irrespective of who is ruling the state, whether it is BJP or Congress.
True.
So
true. I take that
let us not
point.
look at it, in a political sense that it is only because there is certain political party which is ruling somewhere that this kind of ban is taking place. This is something which has been happening in a large number of states, and also considering that cattle, considering to be part of the agriculture policy, is a state subject. So states have been deciding on this.
No, but Geetaji, if the chief minister says anybody can eat what they want, then why can't he just pass an order saying overruling these municipalities? Are these municipalities run by another party? I mean, that could be the case.
You see, the deputy mayor over there in Ahmedabad has stated that there have been certain complaints by women, and children, which is related to non-vegetarian food which is being served, and they have taken. This could be a very local issue, that considering it is not that a ban.
No, but Geetaji, it's not local if it's been extended to 4 cities.
And no one has been, banned from eating meat. And so let it be very clear, no one is taking anyone's liberty.
All right. Naishad Desai, spokesperson of the Gujarat Congress. Mr. Desai, what is very specific, according to the planning committee, according to the municipal corporation, the committee chairperson in Ahmedabad, the planning committee of Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, their committee chairperson says, and I quote, "Stalls selling non-veg items will not be allowed along public roads and in a 100-meter radius of schools, colleges and religious places." So it's linked to schools, colleges and religious places. What difference does it make if somebody is eating meat outside a temple or meat outside a school? Or for that matter, eggs outside a school or eggs outside a temple?
Sir, actually, they are not implementing Street Vendor Act. It is very unfortunate. It is a Government of India Act. It is a Street Vendor Act. They are not implementing at all. Now, this issue, they are not giving the clear notification. They are not writing the non-veg in the notification because they know that it is a very fundamental right issue and constitutional issue. It will challenge. Therefore, they are not issuing notification.
Why is it being done, sir?
No, they are instructing for non-veg.
Naishad ji, why is it being done?
Because their agenda is very clear. Their agenda is to make a communal feelings by that with full negativity, and their agenda is behind only election.
All right, Geeta ji, respond to that this is some sort of an agenda.
It is a clear agenda. Why this issue this time? Why this issue today?
Geeta ji, go ahead. Yes.
Again, this
and
is
then
again
Ajay Umat, I'll come to you
trying
next.
Appease. Let us not make it a communal issue. Across there are people from almost all the communities, they eat non-vegetarian, and if you go to the hilly states, everyone across the communities they take non-vegetarian food. It is not so. So this is trying to divide it over over communal lines. Putting this issue in this way, I think this is very unfortunate. This decision has been taken, which is by a local body, and there are as we understand, there are 2-3 local bodies in the cities, in various cities of Gujarat who have taken this decision. So There has been some local complaints where people who are living in communities, certain areas, who have been complaining regarding it, and they have been saying that what they need to do is they need to cover the food. This could be a hygiene issue.
Is it as simple as a hygiene issue? Ajay Umat, what is this all about? Is it a hygiene issue? Because I've read this as well, that in some places, they're saying that cover the food and it'll be all right. Is that what it's about, or is it more than this?
No, Vishnu, this is not at all a hygiene issue. It is a political issue. And the whole idea was, BJP, Gujarat is their political laboratory. So they are testing everything here. So it was a litmus test, and they thought that, because panchayat elections are coming in Gujarat in 18,000 villages in Gujarat, and there are many by-elections, and they are planning to have assembly elections early in Gujarat with Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand elections. So they were just trying to test the water. But what happened? Yesterday it was announced by, as you have already quoted, Mr. Devang Dani, Town Planning Committee Chairman.
Yeah.
And it was not only Ahmedabad. All these corporations, Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, Rajkot, Jamnagar, Junagadh, all ruled by BJP since last 20 years. Then all of a sudden, how this issue of traffic and encroachment has come. But, they were trying to test the water. But suddenly they realized that, it is not touching only Muslims, because it has started touching, the backlash has come this morning. And OBC and Dalits, they came on the streets. They said, if you try to catch our card, then, we will come on the roads. So the backlash has come, and BJP has gone to back foot. Before half an hour, BJP party president in Gujarat has announced that, they are not going to continue with this policy. Otherwise, yesterday, municipal commissioners, they had given definitions of this, Street Vending Act, and they said that, non-veg items, particularly eggs and non-veg items, they are not covered under Street Vending Act, and they have defined
this is very
definition. This is only fruit, vegetables,
and
clothes will be covered.
Ajay Umat, the BJP has said they're withdrawing this.
There was a nefarious design, but now they have gone to back foot.
Ajay ji, the BJP has said they're withdrawing this.
They indirectly they said that now it will be only a traffic encroachment. It is virtually a callback of their decision. They have gone back on their decision.
All right, Neshad Desai, you had a point to make. Go ahead.
I want to say, sir, Geeta ji, I differ, because all the municipal corporations are doing this act with only making a dispute with two community. 99.99% are taking non-veg. It is not a non-veg issue. It is issue of only election. And the point is here, sir, I differ. I agree with sir. Actually, they are, this time, they have first time last 25 years, they have taken the eggs also. Now they are in problem today. Therefore, CM has issued the statement today that we are not, our government is not on veg or non-veg or eggs.
Okay.
For the nuisance of the main road. It is not a nuisance of the main
road. All right,
road.
I get that point. Geeta ji, do you believe
that
the municipalities in all of these cities need to withdraw that order?
Well, you see that, the spokesperson for the municipality corporations can only give an answer to that, but you see, if you look at in terms of, Mr. Desai was speaking in the Congress government in Rajasthan during the previous term of Mr. Ashok Gehlot. There used to be, during the festival seasons, 5 to 6 days of ban on meat sale, which used to take place. And that has been, even today it is continuing, but maybe lesser number of days. So, it is not so that the meat ban is there, which is specific only to Gujarat. Yes, traditionally and culturally, it may be a vegetarian state and lesser number of people must be eating non-vegetarian. But to saying that, this is something which is there across the whole state is something which is not true. It is related only to certain cities, where this could be because of certain individuals who have taken this decision, who are at a position where the decision has been taken.
Okay, I'm running out of time, so a last question to Faizan Mustafa. Mr. Mustafa, is this some sort of a laboratory experiment in Gujarat ahead of elections in other parts of the country?
Yes.
Vishnu, I would not like to go into this laboratory argument, because as a law teacher, my concern is what Geeta ji is saying. Even Supreme Court went wrong on these issues. Earlier, they said that it is restriction, not prohibition, because it is prohibited just for a few days. The entire litigation about this beef ban, etc., was in the context of butchers' right to trade and occupation. But now it is part of right to life and personal liberty, right of their choice in terms of their food. I personally feel that by passing such kind of laws, Gujarat has almost life imprisonment under their amended beef laws, etc. What is really happening that the number of cows in the country is going down. We do no service to cows by passing such laws. In any case, you see the number of religious places and schools we have in India. If you say that within 100 meters you won't have it, then the children who want to have egg and they would have 20 minutes break, lunch break, they have to go far. There would be, possibilities of getting accident, etc. So I think this is the wrong decision. Yeah, it is law and it cannot be inconsistent with fundamental rights.
Okay,
and
one
to say
second,
that
Geeta ji, last word to you. Yes,
local
go ahead.
municipalities are autonomous of a state government is, I think, absolutely wrong.
Geeta ji, go ahead. Last comment, last word to you. Yes.
What I'm saying is that if you're talking in terms of cow meat, then this is something which is a very, very touchy issue, because in large part of India, cow is considered to be revered. It is, call it as Gau Mata. So if you are talking about beef, it is a totally different issue. And you're talking in terms of non-vegetarian food, these are two different issues. You cannot club these two issues. When it comes to, beef ban, it is a different thing.
It is withdrawn.
In the context of cow, but
the party president has given instruction to all the mayors in Gujarat and it is withdrawn. You mark my word. Unofficially, the instructions has gone to all the mayors in Gujarat and party president Mr. C.R. Patil has said that, nothing doing, and tomorrow you will find that, this movement will not be on the roads.
All right. Okay. I think that's a good way of ending this discussion. It seems we don't have a discussion to discuss. So
exactly.
if it's ended tomorrow, then that's that. Let's see if it actually happens. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us tonight. Well, we're going to move on now to something which people would say rather ridiculous, to something or someone sublime. Rahul Dravid, the new coach of India. We're going to come to that interview, that press conference of his in just a few moments. But as far as this debate was concerned, let's just see what people are saying. Ravindra Kapoor says on coup, he's a mechanical engineer. He says meat shops near schools could be considered, but not near temples, please. That's an opinion. Geet Arora says, is this even a rational action? What is the logic behind it? A ban near schools is entirely unacceptable.